This is Les Getz Field in Swissvale, Pennsylvania. Played Pony League here for the firemen. I played Pony League for the firemen here. I was a member of the team here in Swissvale. The name Les Getz is named after a gentleman who lived here and who taught baseball for 40 some odd years here in the Swissvale community. They named this park and field after him. Okay. Needless to say, after 40 years, there's been a few changes made here. They kind of reworked the grounds, but all said and done, the place still looks good after 40 years. And yeah, I just had to come by and see it. I have some memories here. The first man I think I ever loved outside of my father used to live right back there. In my day, 40 years ago, you could see his house from here. It seems to be a theme here, visiting these parks and these neighborhoods and communities that kids today, they're not using the woods. They're not making paths. They're not, clearing areas to get shortcuts through. But the first man I ever loved had a house right over there, beyond the field. I met him in high school here in Swissvale. His father, like my father, worked in the steel mills. There you can see what's left of the Kerry furnace. That's a Kerry furnace. It's part of the Homestead Works. It's one of the last, if not the last, remaining steel mill, and it's not working. It's not working. You can take tours through it and such, but yeah, Larry's father worked there, graveyard shift. My father worked further down at Mesta Machines, in that same general kind of along the riverbank area. Larry and I were opposites, and that's what may have bonded us. He was math and science to such an extent that he went into school for pharmacy and became a pharmacist. I, on the other hand, was more into theater, literature, art, poetry. Okay. We were kind of two ends of the same coin, but between us, we had a university together. Both of us went to the University of Pittsburgh, ultimately. But he liked me because I had an interest in art and theater, and I was popular in high school as a thespian. I enjoyed theater at the Catholic high school here in Swissvale that we both attended, and he knew I was pretty talented. And after a while, he was about 3 years older than me and 3 grades up, and after a while I learned that he was pretty intelligent in math and chemistry and stuff, as he kept going year after year through the very rigorous courses at the University of Pittsburgh to become a pharmacist. Anyways, we kept in touch even after he graduated high school, and we would spend nights in his room there behind the field and listen to music. He was 3 years older. He was on the campus of the University of Pittsburgh. I was still stuck in Swissvale at Swissvale High School with my peers. And he would introduce me to all kinds of different music and videos. And MTV was coming in at the time, so and he had access to such materials, the newest records, the newest videos, the newest cable channels. Why? Well, because he was going to the University of Pittsburgh, and he was working as an intern as a pharmacist. So he was working as a student and working as a budding pharmacist. So he had a few dollars in his pocket, and I certainly had an interest in the arts and music and theater and such, and he was more than willing to help me out by offering me the latest in such fields of entertainment. So we kept each other company many, many nights. He would stop his studying when I came over, and then, turn me on, as he said, to the latest artist or whatever. And then I'd go home, and he'd return to his studies. Larry was not gay. Last I heard, he was married. He married some woman he met, a farm tech, I believe, at one of the drugstores he worked at downtown, where he eventually got work after his graduation. And he had 3 sons, which, from what I've heard, are the joys of his life and the greatest successes in his life. So he's doing very well, and from all that I've read and all that I've heard about him. But I grew a very strong bond with him, and I learned, simply because I learned a lot from him, about the arts and about entertainment and about the arts from him. This man of science and reason and chemistry. He was the first to turn me on to Bruce Springsteen. He said, there's this guy, Bruce Springsteen. Have you heard of him? I'm there. Yeah, I've heard about him, and I've heard some of Born to Run, but I don't care. I don't like his voice. It sounds awful, and it's just noise to me. And I remember to this day him sitting there with the album in his lap, and he opened it up because it was like a folding thing. He opened it up. He said, "Yeah, but have you ever read the lyrics to these songs?" And I said, "No, I can't get past his voice." And he said, "Well, you should." So that night I took Bruce Springsteen's Born to Run back to my house and gave it another spin, and I was a convert, and it was because of Larry. So and that's what fostered my love in him. It wasn't sexual. It was platonic on both sides, and but just the knowledge that he gave me and that he fostered in me, And going around the country, I've seen such things. You see these great symphony halls, and you see these great theaters and such, and they're not being built by people with arts degrees or arts educations or, actors. No, these theaters are being built by Bill Gates and the founders of Google, and the arts are being constructed by men of science. The Carnegies, if you will, not by the men of the arts and letters. So I owe my debt to him. And here in this land of Carnegies and men of industry and science and steel, it's nice to come back here and just recognize my debt to him.